Clara Barton, the Angel of the Battlefield. Clara Barton, the Angel of the Battlefield. Focus question. How can one person make an impact on the world? Introduction. Guns cracked, the cannons boomed through the suffocating summer air of Virginia. Beneath that noise was a softer but much more terrifying sound. Wounded and dying men moaned or cried out for help. However, in the chaos of the battlefield, no one replied to their cries. Through the smoke came an unbelievable sight, a small woman wearing a modest dress and carrying armloads of bandages. A Union commander stopped her before she could reach wounded soldiers. "This is no place for a woman," he shouted. The woman looked the officer right in the eye and handed him a letter. The letter, signed by Surgeon General William A. Hammond, the nation's top doctor, authorized Clara Barton to visit battlefields and tend to sick and wounded soldiers. As soon as he read the name Clara Barton, the commander's eyes went wide, and he bowed in apology. Without a word, the woman made her way toward the injured soldiers. The angel of the battlefield had arrived. Clara's childhood. Clara Barton was the baby of her family when she was born on December 25, 1921 in Oxford, Massachusetts. Her four siblings were already teenagers. They adored their little sister and taught her everything from reading to riding a horse. She quickly learned how to work on the family farm. Clara was very smart, but she was also very shy. Her parents thought boarding school might help her come out of her shell. School was traumatic for Clara. She was so terrified of speaking in front of strangers that she became ill. Her parents quickly brought her home. When Clara was 11, something happened that changed her life forever. Her favorite brother David was helping build a barn when he fell off the roof. His injuries were very serious. For over 2 years, Clara stayed at his bedside until he fully recovered. She never forgot how purposeful caring for him felt. Early jobs. When Clara grew up, she knew she wanted to work. But in the 1800s, women weren't allowed to do many jobs. One of the few careers they could have was to teach. After starting in a one-room schoolhouse in Oxford, Massachusetts, Clara took a job in Bordentown, New Jersey. At the time, there were no free public schools in New Jersey, only private schools that cost money to attend. Clara thought this was an injustice for poor students. She started a free school that was open to anyone. The school quickly attracted hundreds of students. Clara hired more teachers, but the New Jersey school board didn't think a woman should run a school. They hired a man to be principal. Clara was deeply insulted. She felt she had no choice but to leave teaching. The Civil War. Clara moved to Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, and found a job in the U.S. Patent Office. She was good at her job and was quickly promoted. Once again, there was concern about a woman holding an important government job, and she was replaced by a man. This time, Clara didn't have time to find a new job. The country was about to be torn apart by war. The Civil War erupted between the Northern Union and the Southern Confederacy in 1861. Washington, D.C. was right in the middle of the conflict, and wounded men poured into the city. Clara immediately decided to help. She started by organizing medical supplies for hospitals. However, many soldiers were so badly hurt that they couldn't make it to a hospital. They needed the hospital to come to them. Clara wrote to the government asking for permission to go to the battlefield. The idea of a woman on the front lines was unheard of, but she wouldn't give up. Finally, she received a letter that let her go straight to the fight. Medicine during the Civil War. During the Civil War, more soldiers died from disease than from battles. At the first, doctors had very few tools and techniques. They could perform surgery, such as removing arms or legs. Doctors and nurses could do basic first aid, such as switching wounds and bandaging. Since little was known about germs, diseases, and infections spread quickly. Clara had no training as a nurse, but she quickly picked up all there was to know at the time. Near the battlefields were makeshift hospitals, called field hospitals, where Clara found her calling. She braved gunfire to care for injured soldiers, with few helpers and even fewer supplies. She went without sleep, tending to wound the soldiers by candlelight. A bullet tore through her sleeve, grazing her arm, but she never left her post. She cared for Confederate soldiers, even though she was from the North soldiers. A North hand believed strongly that slavery was wrong. Soldiers called her the angel of the battlefield. The United States, 1862. First, Battle of Cedar Mountain, Culpeper, VA, August 9th, 1962. Second Battle of Bull Run, Fairfax, VA, August 28 to 30, 1862. Third, Battle of Chantilly, VA, September 1st, 1862. Fourth, Battle of South Mountain, Harper's Ferry, MD September 1st, 1862. Fifth, Battle of Antietam, MD, September 17th, 1862. Sixth, Battle of Fredericksburg, VA, December 11th to 15th, 1862. The American Red Cross. After the war, Clara was exhausted. Her doctor advised her to rest, so she went to Europe. Even there, Clara's work was famous. In Switzerland, a group of leaders wanted to meet her. They were part of a new organization called the International Red Cross, which helped care for wounded and displaced people during wars, no matter what side they were on. The Geneva Convention. The small European country of Switzerland is located high in the Alps, a mountain range that runs through France, Germany, Italy, and Austria. Geneva, a city there, has become a place for meeting states to create international agreements. The Geneva Convention of 1863 brought 17 nations together to decide on the rules of war, including how to care for prisoners and wounded soldiers. From this meeting, the International Red Cross was formed. The idea electrified Clara, and she immediately joined the volunteers caring for soldiers in the Franco-Prussian War in France and Germany. There she saw the well-supplied, well-staffed, and well-organized medical teams she could only have dreamed about during the Civil War. Clara vowed to start a similar Red Cross when she returned to the United States. In 1881, Clara founded the American Red Cross, taking on the role of president. The United States was in a period of peace, but the American Red Cross was not idle. Clara made sure the organization stocked food, tents, clothing, money, and medicine ahead of time so it wouldn't have to scramble for supplies during an emergency. She led volunteers into disaster zones, helping people left homeless by wildfires in Michigan and flooding on the Mississippi River. In May of 1889, a dam near Johnston, Pennsylvania, suddenly burst. A wall of water swept away the town. Over 2,200 people died in one of the worst disasters the United States had ever known. Clara and her Red Cross workers went straight in the devastation. Clara stayed in Johnstown for 5 months, helping survivors rebuild their health and lives. The American Red Cross won the deep admiration of the whole nation. For years, Clara ran the American Red Cross however she saw fit. She used her own money and never kept many records. Before the government would renew the Red Cross's character or detailed contracts, however, it insisted that she make things more official. Clara refused to change her ways. In 1904, she resigned as president. Clara was now 81 years old, but she wasn't done yet. She started the National First Aid Association of America, which made popular the single box first aid kit. As she reached 90, Clara finally began to slow down. On April 12, 1912, she passed away in her home in Glen Echo, Maryland, surrounded by friends. The Red Cross today. Clara's work with the American Red Cross was the start of modern humanitarian aid. She expanded the role of the Red Cross to include natural disasters as well as war. Today, the Red Cross is often the first organization on the scene of a hurricane, earthquake, or flood. They set up field hospitals to care for people who are hurt and sick. They organize donations and distribute food, clothing, tents, clean water, and medicine. Clara Barton believed that all people deserve health and dignity. Throughout her long and busy life, she showed how to care for others when they need it most. Today, 97 million volunteers, members, and staff in 187 nations followed in Clara